my god, no! No! Yes!
RuneScape speedrunning took off in 2010 with the release of Time Dungeons. It's exploded to include boss times, clue times, and more. Speedrunners excel at finding new ways to use the game mechanics to their advantage. While most uses are highly situational, a select few have serious utility in the larger game. By the time we're done with this video, you'll know how to win every drop party, loot the entirety of the Keldagrim trading floor in a single click, and more.
One bill drop party. Subscribe to QPRS to join. Party. Subscribe to QPRS to join.
In 2020, speedrunners found a better method to loot drops while repairing a vandalized tomb. One of the tasks is to return a misplaced ring to its chest. The ring spawns in a unique location each time, leading to hundreds of different pathing optimizations. That is, until Fiery001 entered the scene. Fiery discovered you can area loot the ring, cutting the number of optimal paths down by over 90%. This is done by keybinding the loot interface system and opening it once in range of the item. You can grab the ring while running between repairs, saving time. This isn't particularly useful at a drop party because it takes multiple seconds for the area loot window to update after the first time you open it, at which point the stack of 10k blood runes is already in Big Daddy 16's inventory. This is when another player, Lawrence, entered the scene. He noticed Fiery area looting the ring and wondered if it was possible to expand it to all keys in dungeoneering. Key locations are highly predictable, so players already had optimized dive paths to pick them up. Diving to the key was much faster than waiting for the area loot interface to update, but Lawrence is not the type of player to give up easily. After weeks of testing, he discovered the solution was in our inventory the whole time. Let's take a detour to Keldagrim to cover some important area loot info first. You'll notice all items within 3 tiles of my character show up in the loot window. If I summon an upgraded Lorehound pet, that distance increases to 4 squares away. The range gets even bigger on the mobile app. On my phone, I'm able to grab items that are 8 tiles away, or 9 if I take out the Lorehound. This leads to some really cool mobile-specific moneymakers like killing Pyrofiends in the Relica Slayer dungeon. Tons of game content operates on cycle checks. I've explained it in multiple boss guides, but essentially the game will check if certain criteria are met every few seconds and then react accordingly. The area loot system is no different. Every few game ticks, the game updates what items are on the ground for the loot system. This is why you'll get messages like, "This item appears to have already been taken." When you open the interface for the first time, it automatically updates. However, you need to wait 1 game tick before you can loot the items. After that, future drops are delayed before they show up and can be looted. You'll notice if your loot inventory shows some items and you click spacebar, it will only take items in the interface, not the entire ground area. However, there's a mechanic I like to call a cycle interrupt that allows you to get around this. If you go to Settings, Controls, Action Bar, and scroll to the bottom of the list, you can add a keybind for area loot. When you press the keybind, it will reopen the loot interface if there are items in range. This refreshes the check on the loot inventory and instantly adds new items if you already have it open. It's also possible to loot in the same tick, bypassing the 1 tick delay from a new open. If you spam open interface and spacebar over and over, you can loot everything the instant it appears. This is how you can win a lot of drop party drops. But what if you don't want everything? Area Loot has some other handy settings located in Settings, Gameplay, Items and Drops, Loot System. It's possible to toggle custom values and categories of items that you can pick up using shift space for a custom loot instead of regular space. The more important change I recommend is the following. Start by toggling on Multiple Items Open Loot Inventory. This allows you to edit your loot options. Next, turn on Single Items Open Loot Inventory. This makes it possible to open the loot interface with only one item on the ground. Then, toggle on Use Area Loot so you get the benefits of the extra looting range. Toggle off Open Loot Interface from the Choose Options menu. And finally, Multiple Items Open Loot Inventory. Back off. This will allow you to pick up items normally with a right or left click while still being able to use Area Loot with your keybind. So back to Lauren's trying to grab all the keys in a dungeoneering floor with Area Loot. The one problem with Area Loot is that it closes if you move too far away. When you're going through multiple rooms in dungeoneering, that causes the interface to close. Then you need to be within 3 squares of a key before you can open it, and you need to wait 1 tick before you can loot, making it useless. However, you can start a floor with feathers and rune essence by talking to the smuggler at base. These items were useless for years with a maxed setup, but Area Loot changed that. Lawrence realized you could keybind either item on your action bar, and the default option was to drop it. So to put this all together, after setting up your Area Loot options as I outlined, do the following. First, drop an item using a keybind. In dungeoneering, I suggest using rune essence because it's higher value than feathers, so will get priority for pickup. Next, open the loot interface with another keybind. After 1 tick, hit space to grab the item you just dropped. You can do this while running. At this point, your loot interface should be open with nothing on the ground. As long as you don't run too far, it will remain open. Now let's say you want to grab a key nearby. You can get within area looting range of it and hit your keybind to open the loot interface again. This will refresh the items, making the key instantly show up. In that same tick, you can press spacebar to grab the key, making it an instantaneous loot. This changes everything in dungeoneering. Instead of wasting time running up to keys, you can snag them on your way to doors, saving movement abilities and running time. After the discovery, the fastest floor times ever were quickly squashed, leading to a new era of dungeoneering meta. You can incorporate this into your floors to save a lot of time, or just use the settings to improve looting while training Slayer. There are a lot of other tricks speedrunners figured out, like teleporting through doors, but we'll save that for a future video.